What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
There is no better indication of the degree of public interest that we are now talking about over 1 billion, that's B-I-L-L-I-O-N, 1 billion views of the war.gov/UFOs website first tranche documents. That is absolutely amazing. That's a significant proportion of the world's population have logged on to look at documents released by the US Department of War pertaining to UAPs, UFOs, the possibility of non-human intelligence. As I've said in a tweet this week, you can't put this genie back in the bottle. Imagine if the government represents that it's made a UAP disclosure and then all of a sudden whistleblowers come forward and reveal the lies that have been told to conceal the full truth. That's the risk of catastrophic disclosure.
But I'm told President Trump and his team are genuinely thinking about making a full candid disclosure. So we can only hold our breath and hope that the president follows through with his genuine promises of transparency. I'm aware of people in the administration who've reached out. I've actually spoken to people myself who've asked what I think would be the, quote, ontological shock for the public. And I've told them that, frankly, I think the biggest shock for the public would be the sense of a betrayal of trust if the government doesn't follow through and tell the whole story. There's a lot of speculation, I'm hearing it from people inside the administration, that the Trump administration is indeed soliciting advice about how to tell the public that we're not alone.
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Today's video is about Ross Coulthart and some comments he recently made concerning disclosure. He discusses catastrophic disclosure and some word on the street. Apparently, according to him and his sources, the Trump administration is talking about disclosure and revealing to the American public we are not alone. And Ross even indicates that he's been reached out to as well for advice on how that should go. So let's jump into this.
So the president and the White House often calls themselves the most transparent in history, but you're essentially saying they could go a step further. Do you want them to go a step further? The public seems to think that they should, right?
Yes, sir, I do. And I think they may well be considering doing that. There's a lot of speculation, I'm hearing it from people inside the administration, that the Trump administration is indeed soliciting advice about how to tell the public that we're not alone. There are consultations taking place with spiritual leaders. I'm now able to confirm that. There was some speculation a couple of weeks ago about a group of pastors, but it turned out that wasn't directly related to the White House. But there are religious leaders that have been consulted by the White House. I'm aware of people in the administration who've reached out. I've actually spoken to people myself who've asked what I think would be the, quote, ontological shock for the public. And I've told them that, frankly, I think the biggest shock for the public would be the sense of a betrayal of trust if the government doesn't follow through and tell the whole story. We've had some astonishing allegations in the last few weeks. We've got an allegation, of course, long-standing from people like David Grush, the very reputable whistleblower who came forward to us on News Nation 3 years ago, where David referred to the existence of a covert retrieval and reverse engineering program involving alien technology. That bear in the room is still not answered. And the other allegations, including one from Lou Elizondo, the former head of the Pentagon's UFO program, he's talked about hybridization programs that he's being told about from within the intelligence community.
All right, so many things there to unpack, right? He's talking about religious leaders, right? I remember there was a story about pastors not too long ago and some comments that, allegedly Eric Burlison had made, and that got all, basically taken out of context, and it was all wrong, right? So what Ross is saying is this is different. This is different from that. So if you've heard of that story, if you haven't heard that story, don't even worry about it. But essentially Ross is saying that the Trump administration has reached out to spiritual leaders to ask them about, disclosure, letting people know we're not alone in the universe, right? Which again, there's two different things to ask, right? Are we alone? And are we alone on this planet, right? So that's the problem, right? They got to make sure that we dial in. Like, what are we talking about here? If they just come out and say, well, we're not alone in the universe. Okay, I think everyone can agree that's true. That's not the real thing that we want to know. We want to know, are the claims that people have made that the U.S. government has recovered alien spacecraft and bodies, and we have it, and we've been covering it up. And then from there, you can tangentially branch out into, we've reversed engineered the technology. And then from there, you branch off into to what extent, right? And then you've also got, well, hybrid breeding programs like he just mentioned there, and that Lou Elizondo had said he heard about it in the intelligence community. I mean, let's be real, I covered that. That's not entirely the whole thing. Lou Elizondo, first of all, and, under oath said he wasn't even familiar with that. He never even heard of this type of thing. Right. And then later on, he comes out and says, I heard some things in the intelligence community, while my time at the Pentagon about alien hybrids, right? Humans breeding with aliens. But, I don't know if it's true or not. And again, under oath, he said he wasn't even familiar with it. They didn't even ask him, is this true or not? Just, have you heard of this? He's like, nope, never heard of it. Not familiar with this. What? Right? I mean, it's all over the place, right? So it almost is like they making it super ridiculous on purpose. So the people just kind of dismiss it. Again, it's fine to bring all this stuff up. There's a lot of checks being written, right? I don't know how old you are, but remember checks? There's a lot of checks being written. Are they going to be able to cash them all, right? How many checks are going to bounce essentially at this point? I don't know. There's a lot going on there, right? And, Ross is saying he got reached out to personally, right? Asking about what to do. First of all, why is the Trump administration reaching out to Ross Coulthart? I mean, this sounds so unusual, to be honest with you. And who from the Trump administration? That's what we need more answers about, right? Who specifically, right? Because how many people are, quote, in the Trump administration? What do you deem the Trump administration, right? Is it just anyone that works for the government while Trump is president? That's how many employees is that, right? And what level of person, right? Is there someone behind the scenes, running this disclosure thing that works for Trump? Because I haven't heard anything about that, right? So is it just people on their own personal time or on official business? Again, we never get any of this context and we never get any of these answers. It's very easy to sell a story when you only tell the parts of the story that you want, right? It's very convenient, right? But we just don't get any other facts. So I don't know, right? I mean, Jeremy Corbell has also tweeted out that he was reached out to as well by the Trump administration about disclosure. So I don't know. I could see Jeremy being reached out to more than Ross Coulthart, right? I mean, Jeremy helps bring witnesses to the UFO hearings, videos, right? Clearly having meetings, this, that, and the other. Ross isn't doing any of that. So I don't know what's going on, right? Again, is there someone leading this behind the scenes, and who exactly is reaching out, and who from the Trump administration, and what does that mean, right? I mean, if the videos they release in the second batch are any indication, I mean, they're not, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, they literally released videos of balloons and birds, right? So, and I see people getting excited over the balloons and birds. We're cooked, y'all. If you ask me, we're cooked. I mean, it's either there's someone within trying to make the UFO topic look ridiculous, right? To cover up a real thing. Option 2 is they're just doing it to make it look ridiculous, not to cover up anything. And 3, there's nothing and people are just getting excited over nothing. I don't know. Is it a mix of all of it? I don't know. I just want to know, do we really have recovered craft and aliens, right? And then there's just all this other nonsense to deal with. But, as always, time will tell.
But I'm told President Trump and his team are genuinely thinking about making a full, candid disclosure. So we can only hold our breath and hope that the president follows through with his genuine promises of transparency.
So again, Trump and his team. Who is his team? What do you mean by that? Now, Trump, let's forget the team, right? Let's forget the team. Let's forget Trump administration. Now they're talking about Donald Trump himself, the president of the United States, right? Who is thinking about giving candid disclosure. Again, what does that mean? What does that entail, right? What does that look like? There's just no follow-up questions here, right? We fill in the gaps. Oh, we hear candid disclosure. We think, oh, they're going to say that we got recovered aliens and craft and hybrids and this and that, But you don't know that. We don't know what they mean by candid disclosure, right? Again, is it just a simple fact that they think we're not alone in the universe, or the other question that we want to know? Like I said earlier in the video, are we alone on this planet? So whatever. I don't know. Again, time will tell. And let's be real. If Trump doesn't come out and give a lot of these UFO researchers and journalists, UFO journalists, like exactly what they want, meaning Trump comes out and, quote, reveals the truth as they see it, there will be a cover up. Trump is being blocked. Trump is this. Trump is that, right? Like, it's not like, well, whatever Trump says, we'll accept, right? Whatever that truth is. We're still searching for the truth. A lot of these people are not searching for the truth. They think they know what the truth is, and anything that doesn't fit in that, it's a cover up. It's a conspiracy. I'm not saying cover-ups don't exist. I'm not saying conspiracies don't exist, but it's a fine line. It's a tightrope, right? I'm personally open-minded to it being bullshit, but I'm also open-minded to there being aliens, and also open-minded to it being a mix, right? I don't know, but I just have a feeling that if, again, this check gets written, that Trump's going to come out and reveal this, and he doesn't give them exactly what they want, Trump's the enemy. Trump will become the enemy. I don't know. Right? Again, time will tell. Now, let's talk about catastrophic disclosure.
Catastrophic disclosure. Well, what is catastrophic disclosure? I think the word might have been first used by Colonel Carl Nell at a Seoul conference a couple of years ago. And Carl, who I have an enormous amount of respect for, he is the discreet but oh so very well-informed officer at the heart of potential UAP disclosure. And Carl talked to the Seoul Foundation audience about the risk that what would happen if government didn't take a responsible hand on the tiller and guide public disclosure in a controlled way. What would happen would be an uncontrolled disclosure, a catastrophic disclosure, and that's what I mean. In journalism, sometimes people get desperate and they leak stuff that they shouldn't. I'm thinking, for example, here about what Edward Snowden did with the release of Defense Department CIA documents that frankly put, I think, a lot of people in severe danger, compromised national security concerns for the United States and indeed for my country, Australia, and for a lot of countries in the Five Eyes Alliance. That was a catastrophic disclosure where somebody desperate, thinking that they were doing the right thing, well motivated perhaps, and thinking that they were genuinely motivated by all the best reasons, released an enormous amount of information that had consequences that went far beyond their best of intentions. This is one of the criticisms that's often made, for example, of WikiLeaks. And I've been waiting, I have to admit, I've been waiting for somebody in the legacy program to upload a document a video or something to an organization like WikiLeaks. And I sure hope they don't. I'd rather that they come to us here at News Nation, at Reality Check, and drop the video our way, because then we can make a measured judgment. And that's what journalists do all the time. I know everybody seems to think in the national security world that we journalists just recklessly publish stuff and then to hell with the consequences. But we do actually look at what will be the blowback, not just for us legally, but also for the country if documents that are leaked to us are released.
I mean, you hear this term a lot, catastrophic disclosure, right? And Ross Coulthart is, I guess, giving credit to Colonel Carl Nell as being the one who coined that term. I honestly don't know where the term originated, but, it's meant to, catch you, right? Catastrophic disclosure. Oh my God, catastrophe, or, catastrophe, disclosure, right? Like it's this is very impactful, emotion, driven sort of phrase, right? It's meant to evoke emotions in you and get you, oh my God, catastrophic, where it's just like from 1 second to the next, all hell breaks loose, right? Should we just reveal everything? We're not alone. There's aliens are abducting. They're all at once. Or should we soften it? Should we, come out little by little and drip feed and this and that and blah, blah, blah. It's like, even if you drip feed and get people used to it, that's just how it works. I think it's just catastrophic disclosure by default, right? One day it's not true or considered not true, and the next day it is, right? It's just going to happen. So, is that the best way to do it? I think that's the only way to do it, right? Whatever the term you want to give, it's just the truth, right? Humanity deserves to know the truth no matter what the outcome is. Trying to keep the truth doesn't help in any way. There is no good to that. We just deserve to know the truth. Right? It's just that simple, right? We'll survive, just how life is, right? Earth's been around for billions of years. It'll keep surviving till it doesn't. But trying to, get in the way of that or try to control something that is basically, in my opinion, incontrollable or uncontrollable, right? Is impossible. So, will that happen? I don't know. I always push for just aliens coming out and revealing themselves, alien disclosure. That would be the best. Take humans out of the equation because we just clearly just keep messing it up. And you could argue things have been disclosed. If this was true, you'd look back and go, oh, people were talking about this. This was coming out. It was already disclosed. It just people didn't believe what was disclosed, right? And that's the problem. Disclosure's already happened. If this is true, disclosure has already happened, right? It's just people don't believe it. So how do you get people to believe the disclosure that's already happened? Proof, right? Indisputable evidence. And that is what has not happened. So what we need is catastrophic evidence, right? We need catastrophic proof. That's what we need, right? Not disclosure. Does disclosure come with proof, or is it just more words, more stories? Because if that's all it is, then, well, catastrophic disclosure has already happened.
Catastrophic disclosure describes a situation where essentially there is an uncontrolled release of information. If you're the legacy program right now, and I'm told this is at the heart of their concerns, you may not want certain things revealed, such as what kind of technological advancements has the US made? What have they done in order to bolster and improve propulsion systems and energy systems? I can imagine that there will be people in the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the NRO, the NGIA that don't want to reveal the full extent of our capabilities. I think that catastrophic disclosure is still a real risk, because I think that it's good, it's great that the Trump administration has responded that the way they have and that they're doing this controlled release of UAP files. But frankly, at the moment, I don't think the public's going to buy this kind of soft, controlled disclosure that's being put out by the government, because it's not addressing the bear in the room. It's not addressing the fundamental allegation made by people like David Grush, by people like Jake Barber, that there is a retrieval and reverse engineering program that's going on behind the scenes. Is the government concealing retrieved alien technology? If they want the public to accept that this controlled disclosure is being open and as honest with the public as it can be, and to avoid catastrophic disclosure, they have to address the bear in the room. They have to address the issue of, is there a retrieval, reverse engineering program? Is there this incredible allegation from Lou Elizondo, a hybridization program involving humans and aliens? And was there an abduction program where members of the US military were collaborating with non-human intelligences? Is this the reason why the public isn't being told the full story? Imagine if the government represents that it's made a UAP disclosure, and then all of a sudden, whistleblowers come forward and reveal the lies that have been told to conceal the full truth. That's the risk of catastrophic disclosure.
Again, the risk of catastrophic disclosure is not for anyone to decide, right? And you don't know it's a risk until it happens, right? And it's essentially just people making decisions, the few making decisions for the many, right? That's essentially what it is. I just don't think there's any way around it. We should know the reality we live in. How are we supposed to move forward, right? If people are trying to cover up crimes, that's maybe what more the issue is. People just don't want to get in trouble. That I could see as being the reason, if this is true, right, that it doesn't happen. So I don't know. There's just a lot of things that, UFO disclosure falls back on and uses, in my opinion, what could be argued as excuses for why things don't come out, right? There's always a reason, right? But then again, people put out podcasts, put out books, documentaries, consult on Hollywood movies, Hollywood TV shows, right? Say a lot of things, right? But then when it comes time to actually bring the receipts, they're nowhere to be found, right? The Elizondo example is perfect, right? Under oath says he's not familiar with alien hybrid breeding programs. But then on podcasts starts coming out, yeah, I've heard of that. I've even heard stuff at the Pentagon. I've talked about. Again, they're not under oath there. You can lie on a podcast and nothing happens to you, right? You can lie in a book. You can lie all over the place. But under oath, it's a different story, right? I mean, people even lie under oath, but I'm just saying that's kind of the issue. But look, y'all remember the picture that Donald Trump put out, that alien picture of him walking with an alien, right? Was he just trolling us, or what was that all about?
This picture, we just cannot ignore it. President Trump posted on True Social a picture of him walking around with an alien.
Okay, how to respond to this? Obviously, it's an AI-generated image, we hope. I think what it indicates is that the president realizes his social media base at Truth Social are very aggressively interested in the phenomenon, in uncovering the truth about UAPs. I can tell you at the moment, my phone is ringing hot from people in the administration, people in the military, in the intelligence community, who are speculating about what's to come in the following weeks. It's quite clear that particularly on the GOP, the Republican side of the House, things are happening. There's been a change in mood. I think the administration has given a very clear signal that they see UAPs as a worthy subject to push. The president has made it very clear that he treats the mandate for release of these files with the same degree of authority as one would treat an executive order. And so that's how it's being treated inside the administration. Things have seriously changed. I'm actually very heartened. I had a bit of a giggle, of course, at the AI alien image. But boy, what a week. I mean, what can you say when you have Lou Elizondo, for example, the former UAP investigations guy inside the Pentagon, admitting that he has been told by people in the intelligence community inside the military industrial complex about hybridization of human beings and aliens. Wow, this is something that Matt Gaetz, the former Representative Matt Gaetz from Congress, I think in an interview recently, he did an interview from Florida where he talked about allegations that had been put to him by somebody in uniform saying that there was a hybridization program going on. Can things get any weirder? It's high strangeness at the moment. It's quite extraordinary.
You know, personally, I think we're being gaslit about UFOs. You know, there's just so much going on. There's so much to cover. There's so much nuance to this that unless you're in deep and know every little detail, you can't see the full story. It's very hard to zoom out and see it all, right? I can't even cover it in videos, even multiple videos, right? Multiple conversations. People just don't have time for that, right? Is this true or not, right? And you can watch a few clips of, you know, black and white blurry videos and just get excited, right? It's kind of crazy, right? I mean, again, that's just, where do I even start, right? I mean, clearly Donald Trump knows that people want to know about UFOs, so he's kind of playing to that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing to it, but he's clearly playing to the audience, right? But the bigger question is it because there's something real, or is there something to it?
I am waiting with bated breath to see what comes in the next tranche release. I'm told there is a massive pushback, that there are sections of the CIA, as we've told you last week, that are pushing back mercilessly, trying to tell the administration that release would compromise national security, that the public shouldn't be told this stuff. It's going to be very interesting to see how much moral courage the president and his team show up against a national security complex that frankly doesn't want this story told. I'm excited, and I think even though it's a laugh, it's a good joke, I think the fact that the president is posting on Truth Social and indicating to his audience that he's interested in this subject matter indicates a great deal. And I notice, is it Josh Parnell, one of the people from inside the administration, and also the chief technology officer of the Trump administration, have also indicated their interest in seeing the release in these files. There seems to be a distinct change in attitude, and there's certainly a toughening of resolve inside the Republican Party. I'm still a little bit underwhelmed by the Democrats. I don't know if they think that this is as much of a political advantage for them as it is for the administration. But I do applaud the fact that Senator Gillibrand, for example, has come out and spoken out, which I'm pleased to see. Frankly, I gave her a bit of criticism a few weeks ago for not being more outspoken on the UAP issue. And it's good to see people like Chuck Schumer, for example, the former House Majority Leader, now Minority Leader, Senate Majority Leader, now Minority Leader, coming out and speaking on the issue as well, talking about the need for transparency. This is a bipartisan movement, and there is no better indication of the degree of public interest that we are now talking about over 1 billion, that's BILLION, 1 billion views of the war.gov/UFOs website first tranche documents. That is absolutely amazing. That's a significant proportion of the world's population have logged on to look at documents released by the US Department of War pertaining to UAPs, UFOs, the possibility of non-human intelligence. As I've said in a tweet this week, you can't put this genie back in the bottle.
The truth is, we already saw the second tranche of files come out, and they literally showed videos, again, of birds and balloons, right? So you have to wonder, that's the only reason you think any of the videos or photos or files that come out are special in any way is because they're sold to you as UFO files, right? And in your mind, UFO means alien, but that's not what it means in the government. Does that make sense? Right? You hear UFO, you think alien, and so do I. But the government doesn't use it that way. And now they have new terms, right? UAP, NHI, non-human intelligence. Guess what? A dog is non-human intelligence. Guess what? AI is non-human intelligence, right? Drones that you can't identify are unexplained anomalous phenomena, right? Like just normal prosaic things. And those terms get twisted and used against you, right? All of us that came for aliens, right? They're talking about something else, right? Again, balloons, birds, right? Forget all this UFO stuff now. I think we need to forget UFO and start demanding the evidence that they say exists of aliens. We need IFO videos, identified flying objects, right? This is the videos of aliens. These are the videos of alien bodies. Here's an alien body in person, live stream from the Oval Office. Boom, wheel it out. Let's go, right? Get scientists involved. Have them study it. Instead, we get blurry photos, blurry this. My sources tell me inside the Trump administration, right? It's just going to be this cloak and dagger bullshit, right? I'm done worrying about UFOs or UAP or getting excited that the government labeled it as UAP or UFO. That means nothing anymore, right? NHI doesn't mean anything. Biologics doesn't mean anything. We need to demand what they say exists, which is 4K crystal clear footage of alien spacecraft, not UAP. There's a 4K video of UAP. Don't care. Don't care about it. You can tell me there's a 12K video of UAP. We don't need what you can't, that's unidentified to you. You said you've already identified things. Let's see that shit. So we need to start demanding identifiable stuff. The stuff they've identified, not the stuff they don't know what it is. Who cares about that? We'll get to that later. They have claimed they've identified things. That's what we need to be demanding. The alien spacecraft, the bodies, all of that shit. Again, everything that's identified, not unidentified, not unresolved, right? We can't let them weaponize these terms against us. Do you really want to know about aliens? Because I do. I do. God, I hope it's true, right? Let's go. How cool is that? But I also don't want to be gaslit. I also don't want to just be swinging down this rabbit hole for no reason. And I literally see people losing their minds over a video about a balloon. That's where we're at in the UFO community, right? People that have wanted this so bad, who've spent years, decades in this, right? And they're just grasping at straws because they've dedicated their whole life. Nobody wants to think that they've been fooled, right? So you'll even get excited over a video of a balloon. Not me. Not me. You said there's shit that's alien. You said there's alien spacecraft. Let's see it. You said there's alien bodies. Let's see it. Enough of this bullshit. Let me know what you think down in the comments. We'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, Vetta's every day is a gift. Peace.